The Wealth Breakthrough. A Money Mastery Audiobook. Welcome to The Wealth Breakthrough, a Money Mastery Audiobook created for anyone who wants to take control of their financial future and build lasting wealth. What if your biggest financial breakthrough doesn't come from winning the lottery, receiving an inheritance, or discovering one magical investment? What if it begins with a decision? A decision to think differently about money. A decision to become more valuable, earn more, spend with purpose, build assets, and make your money work toward a better future. In this audiobook, we're going to explore 6 powerful principles that can help you move beyond financial survival and begin building real financial momentum. Before we begin, take a moment to like this audiobook, subscribe to Money Mastery Audiobooks, and turn on notifications so you can continue learning about money, wealth, investing, business, and financial freedom. Now, let's begin the wealth breakthrough. Introduction: the moment everything changes. A financial breakthrough is often imagined as one dramatic moment. Maybe it is getting a huge promotion. Maybe it is selling a business for millions of dollars. Maybe it is making a perfect investment at exactly the right time. Or maybe it is receiving a life-changing amount of money when you least expect it. But real wealth is rarely built that way. For most people, a financial breakthrough begins long before anyone else can see it. It begins with a change in direction. It happens when you stop believing that your financial future is completely determined by your current income, your past mistakes, or the circumstances you were born into. It happens when you decide to learn how money works and start making deliberate decisions with the money you have. This does not mean everyone starts from the same place. Some people have advantages that others do not. Some begin with financial support, valuable connections, or strong economic opportunities. Others begin with debt, limited resources, or years of financial mistakes. But wherever you begin, there is a powerful question you can ask. What can I do from here? That question moves your attention toward possibility and action. One of the biggest misunderstandings about wealth is believing that earning a high income automatically makes someone wealthy. It doesn't. Income is the money you receive. Wealth is what you build and keep over time. Someone can earn $200,000 a year and spend nearly all of it. Another person might earn $70,000, live below their means, invest consistently, build a business, and accumulate valuable assets over many years. The size of the paycheck matters, but what you do with that paycheck matters too. This is why so many people can work for decades without experiencing a true financial breakthrough. They remain trapped in a repeating cycle: earn money, pay bills, spend what remains, borrow when necessary, and then start over when the next paycheck arrives. The breakthrough begins when that cycle is interrupted. Instead of only working for today's expenses, you begin building for tomorrow. Instead of asking only how much something costs, you begin asking what it will do for your financial future. Instead of spending every increase in income, you begin directing some of that increase toward savings, investments, debt reduction, skills, or productive assets. These changes may seem small at first. But wealth is often created through small decisions repeated consistently over long periods. In the chapters ahead, we will explore 6 important breakthroughs: changing your money mindset, increasing your earning power, breaking the spending cycle, building productive assets, developing financial discipline, and creating a complete wealth-building system. You do not need to become wealthy overnight. You need to start moving in the right direction. Because once your decisions change, your habits can change. When your habits change, your financial results can change. And when those results begin building upon one another, you may discover that your biggest financial breakthrough was not a single event. It was the moment you decided to build your wealth on purpose. Chapter 1: Break through your money mindset. Before you can build a different financial life, you have to be willing to think differently about money. Your financial situation is influenced by more than the number on your paycheck. It is also influenced by the beliefs, assumptions, and expectations you carry about money. These beliefs can quietly shape the decisions you make every day, often without you realizing it. Think about some of the messages people hear throughout their lives. Money is hard to make. Rich people are just lucky. I'll never be wealthy. People like me aren't meant to have a lot of money. I need more money before I can start investing. When you hear an idea often enough, you can begin treating it as a fact. And when you believe something about money, you tend to make decisions that support that belief. If you believe money is always difficult to earn, you may never seriously pursue opportunities to increase your income. If you believe wealthy people simply got lucky, you may never study how successful people manage money, build businesses, invest, or create valuable assets. If you believe you need to have thousands of dollars before you can begin building wealth, you may spend years waiting for a financial opportunity that never comes. This is why your money mindset matters. A scarcity mindset constantly focuses on what is missing. It says, I don't have enough. I can't afford anything. There's never enough money. A wealth-building mindset does not pretend that financial problems don't exist. Instead, it asks a different set of questions. What can I learn? How can I increase my income? What expenses can I control? What valuable problem can I solve? How can I put today's money to work for tomorrow? That shift is powerful because it moves your attention from limitation toward possibility. Now, this does not mean ignoring reality. People face different circumstances. Some begin with significant advantages, while others begin with debt, limited resources, or financial setbacks. Building wealth is not about pretending those differences don't exist. It is about refusing to believe that your starting point automatically determines your destination. You can take responsibility for what you control without blaming yourself for everything that has happened to you. You cannot control every economic condition. You cannot control every opportunity. You cannot control where you were born or every financial decision you made in the past. But you can control what you learn next. You can improve your skills. You can become more intentional with your spending. You can look for ways to increase your income. You can develop financial goals. You can learn how investing works. You can begin building better habits. And you can decide that your past financial mistakes will become lessons instead of permanent labels. Another important mindset shift is learning to see money as a tool. Money is not the ultimate goal of life. But money can give you choices. It can help you handle emergencies without immediately going into debt. It can give you the ability to invest in opportunities. It can help you start a business, pursue education, support your family, or create more flexibility in your life. The goal is not simply to accumulate money and never enjoy it. The goal is to use money intentionally. That requires thinking beyond the next paycheck. If every paycheck is immediately consumed by bills, purchases, and lifestyle expenses, you may remain trapped in a cycle where you are constantly working for the present. But when you begin thinking about the future, your decisions start to change. You might keep part of your income in savings instead of spending it. You might invest instead of automatically upgrading your lifestyle. You might spend money developing a skill that could increase your earning power. You might choose an affordable car because you care more about building assets than impressing strangers. You start asking a different question. Will this decision make my financial future stronger or weaker? That question can become a powerful filter. You don't have to say no to everything. You simply become more intentional about your yes. And here's a practical exercise you can begin today. Whenever you catch yourself saying, I can't, replace it with the question, what can I do next? You may not be able to solve your entire financial situation today. But you can take one useful step. You can learn one skill. Save $1. Pay down one debt. Research one investment. Apply for one better opportunity. Create one new source of income. Small actions may not feel like a breakthrough in the moment. But repeated over time, they can completely change your direction. Your financial breakthrough begins when you stop seeing yourself as permanently limited by where you are today and start becoming intentional about where you are going. Change your thinking. Change your decisions. Change your direction. That is where the wealth breakthrough begins. Chapter 2, Break Through Your Income Ceiling. There is a limit to how much you can save by cutting expenses, but there is no fixed limit to how much you can potentially earn. This is why increasing your income is one of the most important parts of building wealth. Saving money matters. Controlling unnecessary spending matters. But if your income remains permanently limited while the cost of living continues to rise, there may eventually be very little left to optimize. You can only cut so much. You can cancel subscriptions. Eat out less often. Shop more carefully. Reduce unnecessary purchases. These decisions can create breathing room, but eventually you reach a point where cutting another expense produces only a small improvement. Increasing your earning power can create a much larger opportunity. Your earning power is your ability to generate income based on the value you can provide. And one of the best ways to increase that value is through skills. Think of your skills as financial assets. A skill can stay with you for years. You can use it at a job, in a business, through freelancing, or by selling a product or service directly to customers. The more useful and valuable your skills become, the more opportunities you may have to increase your income. Consider skills such as sales, software development, marketing, leadership, copywriting, financial analysis, project management, design, communication, data analysis, skilled trades, or specialized technical knowledge. The specific skill matters less than the principle. Learn how to solve problems that people and businesses are willing to pay to have solved. This is one of the fundamental ideas behind increasing income. Don't simply ask, how can I work more hours? Ask, how can I become more valuable? There is an important difference. Working harder can increase your income when you are paid directly for your time. But there are limits to that approach. You have only so many hours in a day. Becoming more valuable can change the equation. Imagine two people who both work 40 hours a week. One earns $20 an hour. The other has developed a specialized skill and earns $50 an hour. Neither necessarily works harder. The difference may be the value of the problem they can solve. This is why investing in yourself can be one of the highest return investments you make. You can learn through books, courses, practice, mentors, professional experience, online resources, or simply by repeatedly doing difficult things until you become good at them. But learning alone is not enough. The goal is to turn knowledge into capability. And capability into value. And value into income. There are several paths you can take. One path is career advancement. You may be able to increase your income by becoming better at your current profession, taking on greater responsibility, moving into management, specializing in a valuable area, negotiating compensation, or applying for opportunities with greater earning potential. Another path is business. A business allows you to solve problems for customers and potentially earn money beyond what a traditional hourly structure allows. A successful business can eventually involve employees, systems, technology, or other resources that allow the owner to serve more customers without personally performing every task. Another path is freelancing. If you have a useful skill, you may be able to provide that skill directly to clients. Writing, editing, graphic design, programming, consulting, marketing, bookkeeping, video production, and many other services can potentially be offered independently. There is also side income. A side income stream does not have to become a huge business immediately. It can begin as a small experiment. The important thing is to avoid confusing activity with progress. You don't need 10 side hustles. You need one worthwhile opportunity that you can understand, execute, and improve. You might sell products. You might provide services. You might create educational content. You might build software. You might develop intellectual property. You might start a small online business. The possibilities are extensive, but the principle remains the same: create something that provides value. At the beginning, your first financial goal should not necessarily be becoming wealthy. It should be creating a larger gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap is where wealth begins. If you earn $4,000 a month and spend $3,950, you have very little room to build. If you eventually earn $6,000 and keep your lifestyle controlled enough to spend $4,000, you have created a $2,000 gap. That gap can be used to build an emergency fund, eliminate high-interest debt, invest, develop another income source, or acquire productive assets. This is where increasing income becomes powerful. If you increase your income without increasing your spending at the same rate, your ability to build wealth can accelerate. But there is a trap. Many people receive a raise and immediately increase their lifestyle. A bigger paycheck becomes a bigger apartment. A better job becomes a more expensive car. A successful business becomes unnecessary luxury spending. The additional income disappears. The person earns more but remains financially stuck. The goal is not simply to make more money. The goal is to keep more of the additional money and put it toward your financial future. That requires intentionality. When your income increases, consider dividing the increase between your current lifestyle and your future wealth. You can enjoy some of your progress. You don't have to live like a monk. But don't allow every raise to become another permanent expense. Give your future a portion of every increase. And remember that income does not have to come from only one source forever. A person might have a primary career, a small business, investments, and income from intellectual property. Another person might have a full-time job and freelance work. Someone else might build a business that eventually becomes their primary source of income. There is no single formula. The goal is to build financial resilience. If all of your income depends on one employer, one customer, or one source, your financial life may be vulnerable to changes outside your control. Multiple income sources can provide additional flexibility, but they should be built carefully. Don't chase every trend. Don't jump from one opportunity to another because someone online promises quick money. Choose opportunities that fit your abilities, interests, resources, and long-term goals. Most importantly, become someone who can create value. Learn to communicate. Learn to sell. Learn to solve problems. Learn to negotiate. Learn how businesses operate. Learn how technology can increase productivity. Learn how to manage money. Learn how to build relationships. These skills can compound just like financial investments. The person you become can be more valuable than the paycheck you currently receive. Your current income is not necessarily a permanent ceiling. It is a measurement of where you are today. You can improve your skills. You can increase your responsibilities. You can create value in new ways. You can build something of your own. You can negotiate better opportunities. You can develop additional income streams. And you can use the additional income to create assets that eventually produce more income. That is how the cycle begins. You increase your value. Your income grows. You control your lifestyle. The gap between income and expenses expands. You use that gap to eliminate destructive debt and acquire productive assets. Those assets can contribute to future income and financial growth. And then your money begins working alongside your labor. This is the real income breakthrough. It is not about working yourself into exhaustion. It is about becoming more valuable, creating more opportunities, and directing the additional income toward the future you want. Remember this principle. Your income can grow when your value grows. So don't only ask yourself how to make more money this month. Ask yourself a more powerful question. What can I learn, build, or improve that could make me more valuable for the next 10 years? That question can change the direction of your financial life. Chapter 3: Break through the spending cycle. Earning more money can improve your financial life, but earning more does not automatically make you wealthy. If your income increases and your spending increases at the same speed, you can remain exactly where you were before. This is one of the most important financial traps to understand. It is called lifestyle inflation. You get a raise, so you move into a more expensive apartment. You receive a bonus, so you buy a newer car. Your business starts making more money, so you upgrade everything around you. Your salary increases, but your financial freedom doesn't. The problem isn't that you should never enjoy your money. The problem is allowing every increase in income to become an increase in permanent expenses. Wealth is not about looking richer. It is about becoming financially stronger. There is a major difference between looking wealthy and building wealth. Someone can drive an expensive car, wear designer clothing, live in a luxury apartment, and have very little money invested or saved. Another person can live modestly, drive a reliable vehicle, and quietly own investments, a business, or valuable property. From the outside, the first person may appear wealthier. Financially, the second person may be in a much stronger position. This is why you need to become intentional about how you spend. Start by understanding the difference between needs and wants. Needs are expenses required to maintain your basic life and responsibilities. Wants are things that improve comfort, convenience, entertainment, or enjoyment. The distinction is important because wants are not bad. You are allowed to enjoy your money. The goal is not to eliminate every pleasure from your life. The goal is to make sure your spending reflects your priorities. You can enjoy a restaurant without eating there every night. You can buy a nice car without financing a lifestyle you cannot comfortably afford. You can travel without destroying your savings. You can purchase things you enjoy while still investing in your future. The key is balance. Another useful distinction is between consumption and investment. When you spend money on consumption, the money is generally exchanged for something you use and eventually consume. When you invest money into a productive asset, you are attempting to create future value. That might be an investment account. It might be a business. It might be education that increases your earning power. It might be property. It might be intellectual property. The question is not whether consumption is bad. The question is whether consumption is taking up so much of your income that there is nothing left to build your future. This is where small expenses become important. A single subscription may not seem significant. A daily coffee may not seem significant. A few restaurant meals may not seem significant. A few impulse purchases may not seem significant. But financial problems are often created by patterns, not isolated purchases. A small expense repeated hundreds of times can become a large amount of money. And the real cost is not always the price of the purchase. It can also be the opportunity you gave up. Money spent today cannot simultaneously be invested for tomorrow. This doesn't mean you should obsess over every dollar. It means you should understand where your money is going. That is why a simple financial system can be more powerful than relying on willpower. Give your money specific jobs. Your income can be divided among several important priorities: living expenses, savings, investing, debt reduction, and personal enjoyment. The exact amounts will be different for every person. Someone earning $40,000 a year will have a different situation from someone earning $100,000. Someone supporting a family will have different obligations from someone living alone. The goal isn't to copy somebody else's budget. The goal is to create a system that works for your circumstances. A budget should not feel like punishment. A good budget gives you control. Without a plan, your money can disappear without you knowing exactly where it went. With a plan, you decide where your money goes before someone else convinces you to spend it. This is especially important when it comes to consumer debt. Debt can be useful when handled carefully, but high-interest consumer debt can make building wealth much harder. Credit cards, personal loans, and other expensive forms of debt can consume future income because money that could have been invested or saved is instead being used to pay interest. If you have expensive debt, creating a strategy to reduce it can become one of your most important financial goals. Imagine receiving a paycheck and knowing that a significant portion of it immediately belongs to creditors because of purchases you made months or years ago. That reduces your choices. Now imagine reaching a point where your debts are under control, you have savings available for emergencies, and you are consistently investing. Your income begins giving you more options. That is what financial discipline is really about. It is not about telling yourself, I can never buy anything. It is about being able to say, I can afford this, but I choose not to buy it because I have a more important goal. That is freedom. Financial discipline gives you the ability to make decisions based on your priorities instead of your impulses. One powerful habit is to save before you spend. Instead of waiting until the end of the month to see what remains, decide in advance what portion of your income will go toward your future. Then treat that contribution as one of your regular financial responsibilities. The same principle can apply to investing. If you consistently invest after receiving your income, you reduce the chance that the money will simply disappear into unnecessary spending. Automation can make this even easier. Automatic transfers can move money toward savings or investments before you have an opportunity to spend it. The less your financial system depends on daily willpower, the more sustainable it can become. You should also regularly review your expenses. Ask yourself, am I still paying for this? Do I actually use it? Does this expense support my priorities? Could I get the same benefit for less? Would I rather have this purchase, or would I rather have the money working toward my future? These questions don't require you to eliminate everything enjoyable. They simply make your spending conscious. There is another trap worth avoiding, trying to impress people with your money. The desire to appear successful can become extremely expensive. You may feel pressure to have the newest phone, the newest car, the biggest house, or the most expensive clothes. But financial success is not a competition for appearances. You don't have to prove your wealth to anyone. In fact, one of the most powerful financial positions you can reach is being comfortable enough with your goals that you no longer need external validation. You can drive the older car while investing. You can live below your means while building a business. You can say no to an unnecessary purchase because you understand what your money could become in the future. Every dollar has a job. Some dollars pay for today's life. Some protect you from tomorrow's emergencies. Some eliminate debt. Some purchase experiences. And some should be sent into the future through investments and productive assets. When you give every dollar a purpose, your financial life becomes more intentional. The spending breakthrough happens when you stop asking, can I afford this payment? And start asking, can I afford the financial consequences of this decision? Those are very different questions. A purchase may fit into this month's budget while still delaying an important long-term goal. A bigger house may technically be affordable while limiting your ability to invest. A luxury car may fit the monthly payment while costing far more over the life of the loan. Looking only at the payment can hide the real cost. Wealth builders think about the bigger picture. They understand that financial freedom is created by the difference between what comes in and what goes out, and by what they do with that difference. Earn more. Control spending. Reduce destructive debt. Save consistently. Invest consistently. Enjoy your life without allowing consumption to consume your future. You don't need to become perfect with money. You need to become intentional. Because when your spending is under control, your income has room to create something bigger. It can create savings. It can create investments. It can create businesses. It can create opportunities. And eventually, it can create freedom. That is the breakthrough. Not having more things. Having more control. Not looking rich. Becoming financially strong. And not allowing today's spending to steal tomorrow's possibilities. Every dollar has a job. Give yours a purpose. Chapter 4, Breakthrough with Assets. There is a major difference between earning money and building wealth. When you work a job, provide a service, or run a business, you are using your time, skills, and effort to generate income. That is important. But eventually, you want some of your money to work for you. This is where assets become important. An asset is something that has the potential to provide economic value in the future. It may generate income, increase in value, or both. A business can be an asset. An investment portfolio can be an asset. Real estate can be an asset. Intellectual property can be an asset. A digital product, software system, or valuable piece of content can potentially become an asset. The goal is to gradually move from relying entirely on your labor toward owning things that can continue producing value. This doesn't mean you stop working. It means you begin building something beyond your paycheck. Think about the difference between earning $5,000 and owning $5,000 worth of productive assets. The income can pay today's bills. The assets may help build tomorrow's financial position. This is one reason wealthy people often focus heavily on ownership. They don't simply ask, how much money can I make? They also ask, what can I own that can become more valuable over time? That question changes the way you look at money. Instead of spending every extra dollar, you begin looking for opportunities to convert some of your income into productive assets. You might contribute to an investment account. You might purchase shares of businesses through diversified investments. You might build a company. You might purchase property that produces rental income, assuming the numbers make sense. You might create intellectual property that can continue generating revenue after the original work is completed. The specific asset matters less than the principle. Use some of today's income to build tomorrow's productive capacity. This is also where compound growth becomes powerful. Compound growth means that your returns can begin generating additional returns. Imagine you invest money and it earns a return. Instead of removing all of that growth, you leave it invested. Now the original money and the growth can potentially generate additional growth. Over long periods, this process can become increasingly powerful. The important word is time. Compounding usually does not look impressive in the beginning. The first few years may feel slow. You invest. You wait. You invest again. The account grows gradually. Nothing seems dramatic. Then, after many years of consistent contributions and growth, the numbers can become much more meaningful. This is why starting early can be so valuable. You don't need to predict the perfect investment. You need to give productive assets enough time to work. Of course, investing involves risk. There is no guaranteed investment that will make you wealthy. Markets can fall. Businesses can fail. Properties can lose value. Interest rates can change. Economic conditions can shift. That is why wealth building requires more than enthusiasm. It requires education, patience, risk management, and realistic expectations. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is believing that you need to find the next huge investment opportunity. You don't. In fact, constantly searching for the next big thing can cause you to take unnecessary risks. You may hear about someone who turned a small amount of money into a fortune through a particular stock, cryptocurrency, business, or real estate deal. You see the result. You don't always see the failures. For every spectacular success story, there can be countless people who took similar risks and lost money. Building wealth is not supposed to feel like gambling. The objective is to create a repeatable system. Earn money. Keep a portion. Invest intelligently. Manage risk. Stay consistent. Give your investments time. Then repeat. Diversification can also play an important role. Instead of depending entirely on one investment, one company, or one economic outcome, spreading your money across appropriate investments can reduce the impact of a single failure. Diversification does not eliminate risk. But it can help prevent one mistake from destroying everything you have built. The same principle applies to income. If your entire financial life depends on one paycheck, you may be vulnerable if that paycheck disappears. Over time, you can work toward building multiple forms of financial strength. Your career can provide active income. Your business can provide entrepreneurial income. Your investments can potentially generate growth or income. Your intellectual property can potentially generate royalties or sales. Your property may potentially generate rental income. Your skills can continue increasing your earning power. Together, these can create a stronger financial foundation. But remember that not everything you buy is an asset simply because someone calls it one. A luxury item may have value to you, but it may not produce income or appreciate reliably. A vehicle can be useful without being a productive investment. A large house can provide shelter without necessarily improving your financial position. The important question is: does this put money into my financial future, or does it primarily take money out? This is why you should understand the difference between productive assets and liabilities. A productive asset has the potential to create future economic value. A liability creates an obligation that requires money to maintain or repay. Some financial decisions can contain elements of both. For example, a property may potentially generate rental income, but it also comes with taxes, insurance, maintenance, financing costs, vacancies, and other expenses. A business can generate significant profits, but it can also require capital, employees, marketing, and management. This is why you should never buy an asset simply because somebody says, "This is an investment." Understand the numbers. Understand the risks. Understand how the asset is expected to create value. And never invest money you cannot afford to lose simply because you are afraid of missing out. Another powerful asset is intellectual property. You can create a book, course, software product, music catalog, educational program, or other original work that can potentially continue generating revenue after the initial creation. The internet has made this concept accessible to more people than ever. A person can create something once and potentially distribute it to thousands or millions of people. That doesn't mean every digital product will become successful. It means the potential for scalable value exists. This is one reason skills and systems matter. A skill can help you earn more. A system can help you produce more efficiently. A business can turn skills and systems into a larger operation. An investment can allow your capital to participate in economic growth. The objective is to create a financial ecosystem where your money, skills, and assets support one another. For example, imagine someone develops a valuable marketing skill. That skill increases their income. They save part of the additional income. They invest that money. They eventually use some of their experience to launch a small business. The business generates additional income. Some of that income is reinvested. Over time, the person has moved beyond simply selling hours for money. They are building ownership. This is the transition from working for money toward building things that can produce value. And this transition doesn't have to happen overnight. In fact, trying to force it overnight can be dangerous. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow and become an entrepreneur. You don't need to put your entire savings into one investment. You don't need to buy 5 properties at once. You can start small. Your first investment may be modest. Your first business may be tiny. Your first digital product may earn very little. Your first year of investing may not feel exciting. That's okay. The goal is to establish the habit of ownership. Every productive asset you acquire can potentially strengthen your financial foundation. And as your asset base grows, your financial life can begin changing. At first, your investments may generate only a small amount. Then that amount can grow. Your contributions continue. Your assets potentially appreciate. Your income may increase. You invest more. The cycle continues. Eventually, you may reach a point where your assets produce meaningful income or growth without requiring the same amount of daily labor. That is financial momentum. But don't confuse this with guaranteed passive income. Every investment requires some level of attention, risk, or management. The point is not to create a fantasy where money requires no work. The point is to build ownership so that your financial future isn't dependent entirely on how many hours you can personally work. Your time is limited. Your ability to own productive assets can extend beyond those limits. That is the power of ownership. So begin looking at your money differently. Instead of asking only, "What can I buy?" ask, "What can I build? What can I own? What can produce value? What can grow over time? What can help create income in the future?" These questions move you from consumption toward creation. They move you from short-term thinking toward long-term thinking. And they move you closer to the kind of financial breakthrough that doesn't depend on luck. The objective is not to become rich overnight. The objective is to become an owner. An owner of skills. An owner of investments. An owner of productive businesses. An owner of intellectual property. An owner of assets that can potentially grow and produce value. Because when you consistently turn a portion of your income into productive assets, you are doing something powerful. You are buying a piece of your future. Work for income. Save with purpose. Buy productive assets. Give them time. That is how money can begin working alongside you. And that is where another wealth breakthrough begins. Chapter 5: Break through your financial discipline. Knowledge can change the way you think about money, but knowledge alone does not create wealth. You can understand investing, know how a budget works, understand the power of compound growth, and have a clear financial goal. But if you don't consistently act on what you know, your financial situation may never change. This is where discipline becomes powerful. Financial discipline is not about never enjoying your money. It is not about living an extremely restrictive life or feeling guilty every time you spend. It is about making sure your short-term decisions support the long-term life you want to create. Think about it this way. Your financial future is being shaped by what you repeatedly do with your money today. Saving $50 once is an action. Saving $50 every week is a habit. Investing consistently for years is a wealth-building system. The difference is discipline. One of the most important habits you can develop is learning to save before you spend. Many people follow the opposite pattern. They receive a paycheck, pay their bills, spend on entertainment, eat out, shop, upgrade their lifestyle, and then save whatever happens to be left over. The problem is that there is often nothing left. Instead, consider paying your future self first. When income arrives, direct a predetermined amount towards savings or investments before discretionary spending begins. Even if the amount is small at first, the habit matters. You are teaching yourself that building wealth is not something you do only when convenient. It is a priority. Over time, that habit can become automatic. Automation can make financial discipline much easier. You can schedule transfers into a savings account or investment account so the money moves before you have an opportunity to spend it. This removes some of the emotion from the decision. You don't have to wake up every Friday and ask yourself, "Do I feel like saving money today?" The system makes the decision for you. Discipline also means tracking your progress. You don't need a complicated financial spreadsheet. You need to know where you stand. Know how much you earn. Know how much you spend. Know how much debt you have. Know how much you have saved. Know how much you are investing. And know whether your net worth is moving in the direction you want. What gets measured becomes easier to manage. Tracking your progress also gives you something that motivation alone cannot provide: evidence. Maybe you started with $500 in savings. Then you reached $1,000. Then $2,500. Then $5,000. Each milestone proves that your actions are producing results. That progress can create momentum. But discipline becomes especially important when emotions enter the picture. Money decisions are often emotional. Fear can cause someone to sell an investment at the worst possible moment. Excitement can cause someone to chase a financial trend they don't understand. Social pressure can cause someone to spend money simply because everyone around them appears to be living a certain lifestyle. A disciplined person learns to pause. Before making a major financial decision, ask yourself, does this move me closer to my goals, or farther away from them? That simple question can prevent many unnecessary decisions. Discipline also means learning to delay gratification. You don't have to reject every pleasure today in order to have a better tomorrow. But you should become comfortable choosing between immediate consumption and future opportunity. A $1,000 purchase may provide excitement today. The same $1,000, if invested appropriately, could potentially become significantly more valuable over many years. The point is not that you should never spend $1,000. The point is that you should understand the opportunity cost. Every dollar can only be used once. When you spend it, you give up the opportunity to save it, invest it, reduce debt, or use it to build something productive. Financial discipline means becoming intentional about those choices. It also means staying committed when progress feels slow. Building wealth can be frustrating because the early stages often seem insignificant. You may save for months and feel like you are barely moving. You may invest consistently and wonder when the results will become noticeable. You may pay down debt and feel like the balance is decreasing too slowly. But wealth building is often quiet before it becomes visible. A tree does not become large because of one day of growth. It becomes large because it continues growing over thousands of days. Your finances work in a similar way. Small actions repeated consistently can become significant results. This is why patience matters. You cannot control every market movement. You cannot control the economy. You cannot predict every opportunity. But you can control many of your financial behaviors. You can control how much you save. You can control how much unnecessary debt you take on. You can control whether you invest consistently. You can control whether you continue developing valuable skills. You can control whether you allow temporary setbacks to become permanent excuses. And that last point is important. You will make mistakes. Everyone does. You may overspend. You may make a poor investment decision. You may take on debt you later regret. You may lose money in a business. You may experience a period when your income falls. A financial setback does not have to become a financial identity. The wrong response is to say, I failed, so there is no point trying. The better response is to ask, what happened, what can I learn, and what should I change? A setback can become expensive tuition if you learn from it. The goal is not perfection. The goal is improvement. Over time, something even more powerful begins to happen. Your financial habits start changing your identity. You become someone who thinks before spending. Someone who saves automatically. Someone who invests consistently. Someone who researches before making major financial decisions. Someone who understands that wealth is measured by what you own and build, not simply by what you display. You no longer need constant motivation because your habits begin to carry you forward. This is the real power of discipline. Discipline turns good intentions into repeated behavior. Repeated behavior creates habits. Habits create systems. Systems create consistency. And consistency, combined with time, can produce financial results. So don't ask yourself whether you can become wealthy quickly. Ask yourself whether you can become financially disciplined enough to make better decisions year after year. That is a much more powerful question. Your financial breakthrough may not begin with a massive paycheck, a perfect investment, or a sudden opportunity. It may begin with something much simpler. A decision to save before spending. A decision to invest consistently. A decision to stop making emotional financial choices. A decision to track your money. A decision to stay committed even when progress is slow. These decisions may seem ordinary. But extraordinary financial results are often built from ordinary decisions repeated for an extraordinary amount of time. Discipline is the bridge between financial knowledge and financial results. And once you build that bridge, you are no longer simply hoping for a better financial future. You are actively building one. Chapter 6: Build Your Wealth Breakthrough. A financial breakthrough does not usually happen in one dramatic moment. It is rarely a sudden lottery win, a perfect investment, or a business idea that instantly makes you rich. A real wealth breakthrough happens when your financial momentum begins moving in the right direction. You begin making better decisions with money. Your income starts growing. Your spending becomes intentional. Your debt becomes more manageable. Your savings increase. Your investments begin compounding. And your assets gradually become more valuable. Eventually, you reach a point where your money is no longer working entirely against you. It begins working with you. That is the wealth breakthrough. Throughout this audiobook, we have explored the major areas that can change your financial direction. First, you must change your money mindset. Your beliefs influence your decisions. If you constantly believe that wealth is impossible for someone like you, you may never take the actions required to build it. But when you begin viewing money as a tool and wealth as something that can be built deliberately, your choices begin to change. Second, increase your earning power. There is a limit to how much you can save by cutting expenses, but your ability to earn can continue growing. Develop valuable skills. Become better at solving problems. Advance your career. Build a business. Offer services. Create additional income streams when appropriate. The goal is not simply to work more hours. The goal is to become more valuable. Third, control your spending. A higher income does not guarantee wealth if every increase in income is followed by an increase in lifestyle. Give your money direction. Spend on what matters. Reduce unnecessary expenses. Avoid spending simply to impress people. Make room for saving, investing, debt reduction, and enjoyment. Fourth, eliminate destructive debt. Not every form of debt has the same purpose or risk, but high-cost consumer debt can make it extremely difficult to build financial momentum. Interest can work against you just as effectively as compound growth can work for you. Create a strategy to reduce expensive debt while avoiding unnecessary new obligations. Fifth, build productive assets. Move beyond simply earning and spending. Build ownership. That might include investments, a business, real estate, intellectual property, or other productive assets appropriate to your situation and risk tolerance. The objective is to gradually own things that can generate income, appreciate in value, or create future opportunities. Sixth, invest consistently. You do not need to predict every market move. You need a long-term strategy you understand and can stick with. Consistency allows time and compound growth to become allies. And seventh, protect and grow what you build. Building wealth is only part of the journey. You also need to manage risk, maintain appropriate emergency savings, diversify when appropriate, continue learning, and avoid decisions that could unnecessarily destroy years of progress. Now turn these principles into measurable goals. Instead of saying, "I want to become wealthy," create specific targets. Perhaps you want to build a $10,000 emergency fund. Perhaps you want to eliminate $15,000 of high-interest debt. Perhaps you want to invest $500 every month. Perhaps you want to increase your annual income by $20,000. Specific goals give your effort direction. And remember, do not measure your progress against someone else's highlight reel. Someone else's house, car, business, portfolio, or lifestyle tells you very little about their actual financial position. Your competition is not the person next to you. Your responsibility is to become financially stronger than you were yesterday. Small wins matter. Paying off one credit card matters. Saving your first $1,000 matters. Making your first investment matters. Increasing your income matters. Building your first profitable side business matters. Every small victory proves that change is possible. Those victories create momentum. And momentum can change everything. You do not need perfect circumstances to begin. You do not need to know everything. You do not need to become wealthy overnight. You simply need to take the next intelligent step. Change your mindset. Increase your earning power. Control your spending. Reduce destructive debt. Build productive assets. Invest consistently. Protect what you build. Then repeat. Your breakthrough may start quietly. But if you continue making better decisions, the results can become impossible to ignore. The future you want is not created by waiting for the perfect opportunity. It is created by taking responsibility for the opportunities you have today. Your wealth breakthrough begins when you stop waiting for your financial life to change and start becoming the person who changes it. Conclusion: your breakthrough starts here. Your wealth breakthrough begins with a decision. Throughout this audiobook, we have explored 6 powerful areas that can change your financial direction: your mindset, your earning power, your spending, your assets, your discipline, and your ability to create long-term financial momentum. You learned that wealth begins with how you think about money. You learned that increasing your income can create greater opportunities. You learned that controlling your spending allows more of your money to remain available for your future. You learned why productive assets matter, why consistency beats quick financial shortcuts, and why discipline turns good intentions into real results. But knowledge is only the beginning. The real transformation happens when you take action. You do not have to change everything tomorrow. Choose one principle from this audiobook and put it into practice. Start saving. Learn a valuable skill. Reduce expensive debt. Create a budget. Begin investing consistently. Build an additional source of income. Whatever you choose, start. Your current financial position does not have to be your final destination. Wealth is built through better decisions repeated over time. Stay patient. Stay disciplined. Keep learning. Keep improving. Your breakthrough may begin with one small decision today, but that decision can become the beginning of an entirely different financial future. Thank you for listening to The Wealth Breakthrough from Money Mastery Audiobooks. If this audiobook helped you, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more lessons on money, investing, business, and financial freedom. Remember, your wealth breakthrough begins with the decisions you make today.